Hey folks, Steve Wilmes and
Matt Kieta.
wrong way, that way. Yeah, Steve Wilmes and Matt Kieta here with another episode of the Risk Control Show. Today, I want to jump in on this topic of the comprehensive safe school plans. This is for public schools, specifically in California. You guys can, if you're not in California, just something to be mindful of as well. It might be a good practice to do these in other states as well. But once again, the state legislature can't read a calendar. And it's so frustrating. And I was talking to one of the local county offices of ed, and the person in charge of this agreed with me. I'm not going to mention names, but they were asked by the state California Department of Education to provide feedback. And I said, well, I have one piece of feedback. Did you teach your legislators how to read a calendar? Hello? Hello? So this comprehensive
We
safe
can
school
teach it.
plan. Huh?
Can we teach it to the legislature? We'll put our serves.
I'm gonna try. Maybe we'll do an episode just on that. PSA. Don't be stupid. Jeez. Okay. Winter school's out of school session. In the summer,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
are most of our public schools in session? I mean, I know in Missouri we have year-round schools over there.
I know there's some out there that do the year-round thing, but
So you tell
most
me,
most of them,
Matt,
yeah,
schools that aren't on a year-round calendar
yes,
are in session in July.
just about none.
And then the school year is typically from what? The start of school to the end of school, which doesn't include July.
Right?
So here's the thing. This is just so great. I mean, it's just really unbelievable. Senate Bill 153 came in 2024. Okay?
Okay.
And it requires what we call instructional continuity plan guidance. And what this is, I'm going to just show this on the screen here. What this is it's a plan in the event of an emergency that tells students how they will continue their education during the emergency. So this is an outgrowth of the COVID era.
Right.
And we went to online learning, we went to webinars, we did Zoom, we did this, we did that, blah, blah, blah. So this requirement, this SB 153, got confused because the department, when they read the department means the California Department of Education, was supposed to provide guidance to schools for the implementation of ICP, Instructional Continuity Plan, and they were supposed to do this by March 1st of 2025. Schools then got misinformation. I shouldn't say that. Schools then misinterpreted that they were supposed to have this as part of their school year plan for 24-25. Well, 24 started in August
Right.
of 24, prior to the guidance coming out in March of 25. So the legislature allows for the guidance to come out in March of 25 and requires that the plans for the upcoming school year be updated in July of 20.
Reminds me of the workplace violence approach.
Exactly.
Remember?
Yeah.
They had a similar thing.
Yeah. So July of 25, you need to update your plan. And that goes for the 25-26 school year. And then they will give you funding. So they've tied funding to this. They're pulling a presidential administration trick here to say, hey, if you don't have this, you don't get funding. So 26-27, If you don't have this in place, you're not going to get funding. So the question then becomes, when you updated your plan, did you know that this was already there? And then without guidance, how do you update your plan to make sure you're in compliance? Well, you don't. You got to do it in July. So that being said, I told the administrator at the local county office, I said, the feedback that you can give the state is that they need to learn to read the calendar and understand that schools aren't in session, and they should give some leeway to put these in and make sure that their guidance gives enough time for this to be done. So a July 1st deadline is BS. So anyway, just going to take that feedback back and provide it to them. We also discussed, and you can't hold me to this, but we also discussed that with a lot of the ongoing things that are happening at the educational level, and that all the schools in the state will be submitting these plans. Well, that's the other thing. Let me back up one notch, folks. You may already understand that all plans have to be submitted to the county offices of ed by March 1st of 25 for adoption. But the guidance doesn't come out until the day that you're supposed to have them approved and sent over. How are you supposed to put this stuff in your plan? You can't. The other piece is, without the guidance, you really can't write a good ICP. And if you're asking consultants to write the ICP in the CSSP, that's not, it can be done, but you have to make sure that they have the latitude and authority to write that, because the ICP really comes down to, how do you provide the education? In that piece, I'm not an educator. I can write how we alert individuals to where to go to get the education, but I can't write how you're going to perform that education, right? I can't make you do Zoom or Teams or, an offsite training facility or, whatever. Those are things that you as educators have to come up with, and how you're going to do that.
Right.
So if you have an earthquake and the building is down, are you moving to a different school? Like, those are the things that we have to address. And then from that, I can put into the CSSP, well, we're going to use telephones, or we're going to use emails, or we're going to, I don't know what those are. I need to know what they are. So you have to develop your ICP, and then we can tangentially talk about it in the CSSP. Remember, the CSSP, the Comprehensive School Safety Plan, is nothing more than a collection of all your board policies and regulations. So depending on how you do those, depends on what goes in the CSSP. And it's the cart before the horse.
Right.
And if you don't have the horse, I don't have a cart. If you don't load the cart, I can't put it in there. However that goes, Matt. But point being is,
don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah. The point being is that the local county office down here said unofficially that basically, hey, we're not going to hold everybody to the implementation of this on July, because we see the time frames and deadlines, and it's just kind of a mess.
Right.
So please, if you're a legislator and you're introducing law, please get a good, thorough understanding of what you're asking. Schools aren't in session. You can't put this stuff, like the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan had the training deadline of July. You launch it on us, and I'm here to tell you, you need to understand what schools do. Every year in a high school district, graduation happens. And if you are just K5, if you're K8, fine. Even some K8s have graduation ceremonies.
I've seen K5.
Yeah,
they're all doing graduations now, Steve.
Yeah, but the level of planning isn't as large. If you're if you're K-12, you have high school graduation, and that takes months, and then you're trying to close down. If you don't have this ready to go by February, It's not happening, right? It's just not
Yeah.
happening. You got spring break in March and April. You got, and then May, and then you're having your high school graduation. Everyone's planning for that. It's a big event. So if you're telling us you got to do workplace violence training, and then all the staff are out for the summer, when do you do this? When it's due by summer? Like, can you please have some concept of what a school calendar looks like? This should not be difficult. So get a concept of what the school calendar looks like. If you're going to implement, you got to give room for people to actually do the things that you want implemented. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. And then people are like, well, this is stupid. And then everybody's 100%. Rushing. And then you got bad training, and you got half-baked ideas and half-cooked policies. And you're just like, whatever. But this one's a big one. The ICP, it needs to be part of the plan. Get it into your plan. Districts need to write what that looks like, and then the pertinent pieces for the emergency notification can be provided to the comprehensive safe school plan. The other piece that's coming up that wasn't mentioned is cardiac arrest. And cardiac arrest now has to be response procedures for cardiac arrest. It's so stupid. It has to be involved in your CSSP. Because we know that cardiac arrest is occurring in students all the time, right, Matt? I mean, it's just, it's the same, I got to tell you, this came about with the AEDs too. Like, the least likely place that you're going to use an AED is in a K-8 school. And I just look here and go like,
Yeah, because they're young.
Yeah, let me find this leg info real quick. I want to pull this up and show that to let me go back and find it real quick. But yeah, I mean, you could talk about cardiac arrest, Matt, because you're a CPR instructor.
I think usually when we have, I mean, don't they have a medical, usually have some kind of a medical emergency section in the CSSPs already? Something, they don't have something specific for cardiac arrest. Like, normally, you have a cardiac arrest, your options are to call 911 and provide whatever first aid or first aid that you actually have the ability to provide. Now, of course, schools will have nurses. They should, I presume, are going to have CPR training, so they can certainly come out and actually perform CPR on this individual and help them survive, whether that's a student or a staff member or a teacher or whoever. Will have the ability to provide that training. But ultimately, that instruction is going to primarily be call 911. get someone to the front so they can go directly to the individual who has been stricken by cardiac arrest.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, and of course, if you have AEDs on site as well, then that's another aspect of it.
Right.
Do you have the training for that? Or those? I guess the one aspect of that is making sure that those are that they're in proper condition and that they are powered up, they're ready to go when you need them. So that goes into a maintenance schedule and that sort of thing. But
right.
But
hold on, I'm essentially trying to find. Let me just pull this up. I'm trying to find.
So you're saying you found some statistics on the least likely places you're going to need an AED. So in other words,
I just remember from way back when. I just remember from way back when we were dealing with all the AED stuff. It just was like, why are you requiring? Why do schools want to go in and do this? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's cardiac arrest that happen in our teachers and this kind of stuff, but we already incorporate all the emergency response procedures in the CSSP. Why do we have to single out this specific thing? And that's the piece that is kind of difficult. Okay, so right here we go. Here's the line you want to look at. When a comprehensive school safety plan is next reviewed and up, this is the proper language. On or after July 1st, 25, procedures to respond to incidents involving an individual experience of sudden cardiac arrest or similar life-threatening medical emergency while on school grounds.
Wait, hold on. Or similar. Dude, the scope. Dude, I just used dude. The scope of that addition is massive.
Yeah, I know.
Could be a life-threatening bleed. Could be a head injury. Could be a loss of consciousness.
Right, and it's like, call 911. I mean, number one, you only have a certain requirement for first aid CPR. That's your athletic directors, right? Your nurses. And then if you have certain elements at your district, such as a lifeguard with a pool, right? Your coaches, those things are required to be first aid CPR trained. So if you don't require first aid CPR training, what is your response? Call 911. And then, and then I'm going to say it, Matt. What am I going to say? Can you guess? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say this out loud. And you know what? I did. I should say the other thing too. Or should I? There's one thing I'm going to tell everyone right now. There's one thing, and one other person knows this because he was the individual that prompted me to research this much further. And it has to do with emergencies. And I'm not going to, I have not revealed my research, legal research, opinions, findings, all of that, because it would send a shockwave through the public sector, and we would really be in trouble. So the interpretation is incorrect, but I kept this to myself for, well, since 2004. And I'm going to take it to my grave because the adverse consequences of the knowledge is just, it would really break everything apart. But that being said, when it comes to the CSSP, I will ask, I'm going to say it. So what am I going to say, Matt?
I mean, everybody should have CPR training.
No. Good try.
We do provide CPR training. So.
No, I'm talking about the CSSP in general. It's a joke. It's a joke. It is a lot of work. It's a policy. It's a collection of policies. It's required to be put at the front of every office, available for public viewing. I've asked over the years, how many people have come in and asked to look at the CSSP? If you're lucky, you might get one person a year. So if you are working in school districts and you're in IT, please give me, please, I'm begging you, in the YouTube channel, in the bottom of the comments, if you're looking at this on our webpage, on our blog, on our podcast series page, please, if you're in IT, write in the comments how many people clicked on the link to open your CSSP if it's available on your web, which it should be.
Right.
You are the site admin. Please, how many people have come in and asked to see it in the last decade or per year? And if I'm wrong, maybe I'll send you a gift. But if I'm right, I just go like, keep a sign-in sheet. It can be optional. You don't have to make people sign in to read it. That would be a violation of their rights. But if they would sign in, like how many people came to actually see this? It's a joke. Who's reading this? Your staff aren't, because they got to read the emergency response procedures. They got to
Yep.
they got to read the board policy. They're doing all that there. They know the uniform policy. They know the disciplinary procedures, the expulsion procedures. They know all that stuff because they're reading that. This is just a collection of things for parents and public. And who's coming to look at it? Nobody. So you're putting all this stuff in there and you're going like, why? Why?
More work, more busy work.
Yeah,
Really
more
what it is.
busy work. It's just busy
Yeah.
work. Like I would rather just see like, hey, here's the board policies. Read it. It's a collection of the board policies. It's not written in any plain language that people can readily understand.
Right. Yeah. This is explained easily to you. It's left in hard read mode for you to go.
So then here are legislatures like, hey, this is a great idea. Yeah, it would be cool. Let me add something. I heard Senate Bill 153. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. You're just wasting taxpayer money. Because, what you don't require first aid CPR training for all staff members, which is unbelievable to me that you put all these kids with all these incidents. Like if you pull up the school accident reports, and you're like, oh, how many people got injured on the playground? How many people got sick or had an asthma deal or whatever? Like that, there's a lot more of that. It would make sense to have first aid CPR training for all school site staff. If you want me to help you sponsor that bill, let me know, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there, I said it. The joke.
I agree with you, and it's silly to limit those skills to just like one or two or three people on a school site of thousands,
right?
With potentially thousands of students,
right?
It makes no sense whatsoever. It just being able to have that skill present, at least in teachers and administrators,
right?
It makes too much sense to have that, and yet it's not required. It's not, and I don't see too many that want to invest in the cost of doing it. So even if they're not required, yeah, it's expensive, but also it's something that would be tremendously helpful. Would be a tremendous addition to safety in all of our schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how to respond to life-threatening emergencies? Dial 911.
Yeah, pretty much.
Send me a check for $2,000. Because I just gave you the answer.
Congratulations.
Oh. Anyway, I'm worn out now. I need a nap. Oh my gosh, this stuff is upsetting. It's upsetting to see the constant implementation of these calendars.
Yeah.
It's learn to read a calendar. I mean, you just don't even understand what you're working with, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating for everyone involved to have to go out there and try to, we got to do this training, but we don't. Like, workplace violence prevention training, do it, but it's not even accepted by OSHA yet, and it's not accepted. It doesn't have to be accepted till 26, and you're like, what? And you got to do it now, and well, what do we train on? Okay.
Right.
Oh, put this main drain cover in. Well, who makes them? It's required now. Well, no one makes them available. Like, how do we install it? Well, they're not. You got to do it now. It's like, no wonder everyone's out of compliance.
Exactly.
Anyway, All right. Well, that's all I have to say. Sorry to ruffle the feathers.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand. I think those feathers deserve to be ruffled.
Yeah. Let's ruffle them up. So if you need anything at all,
Yep,
well,
absolutely.
not anything. Let's keep it legal. Let's keep it related to safety risk.
Yeah.
But we're here to help. We're here to help, and hopefully this brings a little clarity to some things and a little education and knowledge to you. So, OSHA 10 and 30 courses available now, and CPR first aid available now. And no, it is not why we say that we think it's a good idea that all staff do it. I really do believe that if, when you look at these things, if I were given the choice, instead of putting something in the CSSP, I'd rather actually train people on what to do. Actually do the CPR first aid training. That's more important to me than something that no one's ever going to look at.
100%.